933 roundabout construction at the intersection of Route 20 and Route 131 project. I work in the roadway project management section at the Massachusetts Department of Highway Division headquarters in Boston. Please note, this public hearing will be recorded. The Massachusetts Department of Transportation may choose to retain and distribute the video, still images, audio, and/or transcript. All parts of this hearing are considered public record. By continuing to attend this public hearing, you consent to participate in a recorded event. On this slide, you will see a notice of Mass DOT's policy on diversity and civil rights. All Mass DOT activities, including public meetings, are free of discrimination. Mass DOT complies with all federal, state, civil rights requirements preventing discrimination based on sex, race, color, ancestry, national origin, limited English proficiency, religion, creed, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, or veteran status. We welcome the diversity from across our entire service area. If you have any questions or concerns, please visit www.mass.gov/discrimination-in-transportation-program to reach the Office of Diversity and Civil Rights. Non-discrimination, sorry. Thank you. The notice was sent to municipality on May 28th, and coordination will continue as the design progresses. This notice also appeared in the Sturbridge Evening News and the Worcester Telegram on June 2nd, 2026, and June 9th, 2026. The handout was also posted to the Town of Sturbridge and Mass DOT social media. Once the hearing is completed this evening, the attendance sheet will become part of the public record as well. So if you would like your attendance at this hearing to be part of the public record, please sign in on the sign-in sheet located at the back of the room at the entrance. Handouts containing details regarding this project are next to the sign-in sheet. In the handout, you will find documentation which may be useful to you in understanding the project and submitting formal comments in response to this presentation. You will see the notice of hearing is included on page 2 of the handout. Moving forward, the purpose of holding hearings is to provide an assured method whereby the Commonwealth of Massachusetts can furnish to the public information concerning the state's highway construction proposals and to afford every interested resident of the area an opportunity to be heard on any proposed project. At the same time, the hearings afford the Commonwealth an additional opportunity to receive information from local sources which would be of value to the state in making its final decisions to what design should be advanced for development. Please keep in mind that the project we are presenting is still in the early design stage. All your questions and comments will be taken into consideration when completing the project's design. The project team is a joint effort among Mass DOT and the Town of Sturbridge, and the design consultant, Howard Stein Hudson. As mentioned, I am Greg Frazier, the Mass DOT project manager. We also have Michael Ruderman from our state right-of-way section. From District 3, we have Ann Sullivan, our project development engineer, Colby Russell, traffic engineer, and Carl Helgren, the projects engineer. We also have Dan Rascott from our legislative affairs section. With the Town of Sturbridge is Robin Grimm, the town administrator, Jean Boobin, the town planner, and Heather Blakely, the DPW director. From Howard Stein Hudson, our design consultant, Stephen Tyler, in the back of the room, PE principal in charge, Chris Lyman, right next to me, PE project manager, and Nicholas Mans, the staff civil engineer. We have Michaela Seeger, PE Senior Traffic Engineer, and Taylor O'Neill, HSH's Community Engagement Specialist. Our stenographer this evening is Lynn Meyer from Advanced Court Reporting, who will complete a verbatim transcript for the public record. So here's our agenda this evening. First, we will go over the project area, then the project initiation, project goals, and alternative analysis. The proposed design will then be presented, and any right-of-way impacts to abutting properties and any environmental impacts. We will then discuss the construction approach, impacts, and next steps prior to opening the forum to question and answers. So here's the project area. The highlighted area shows the extent of this project, which covers Route 20 from just west of the Burger King to the State Police jug handle. The project also extends south down Route 131 to the Hampton Inn. The dark outlined area is the area the design team used for the study. So why was this project initiated? There are a lack of pedestrian and cyclist connectivity, as there are no crossings or bicycle accommodations within the study area. The town of Sturbridge has created a commercial tourist district plan and completed a corridor profile for Route 20 with significant improvements to the Route 20 through Sturbridge. These improvements include enhancing vehicle traffic, access to commercial areas, pedestrian and bicycle access, reduce crashes, and enhance the visual imagery of the corridor. The town's plan did request the installation of a roundabout in the intersection to achieve these enhancements. So here is a timeline of how we got here. In June of 2022, Howard Stein Hudson received the design contract notice to proceed. From there, Mass DOT and HSH continued through the intersection control evaluation in the winter of spring 2022 and 2023. Alternative analysis and a selected preferred concept was developed in the spring of summer of 2024. The design then continued to the 25% design, which was submitted in August of 2025. And now here we are in June 2026 for the 25% design public hearing. And what do we want to accomplish? The goals of the project are, number one, to improve safety for vehicles, pedestrians, and cyclists, and reduce accidents. We also want to provide a gateway into the town while reducing vehicular speeds along the corridor. Pedestrian access will also be improved to allow safer walking and crossing conditions. And now I would like to turn the hearing over to Chris, who will go further into the design and the alternatives.
Thank you, Greg. As previously stated, my name is Chris Lyman. I'm the product manager from Howard Stein Hudson for this project. So you're probably wondering what alternatives did we consider through this process. We went through an extensive alternative analysis process that included 15 alternatives along the corridor. Those alternatives considered a combination of signalized intersections, roundabouts, and center island medians along the corridor, especially at the intersections of Route 20 and Fairgrounds Road, Route 20 and Route 131, and Route 20 and New Boston Road. After the first round of analysis, it was determined that only 3 concepts were considered great alternatives to move forward and to further process through analysis and design. In the next couple of slides, I'll be going through the 3 alternatives that we progressed to further analysis, the preferred alternative that was selected, and the anticipated improvements and impacts that are coming from that preferred alternative. So the first alternative we looked at was alternative 3, which included a signalized intersection at the intersection of Route 20 and Route 131 with a roundabout at the intersection of New Boston Road and Route 20. The alternative also included a continuous median along Route 20 to the western project limits on the left-hand side of the screen, and included a right-out only at Fairgrounds Road and the Sturbridge Host Hotel driveways onto Route 20 westbound. This alternative removed the existing signal at the intersection of Route 20 and Fairgrounds Road. This alternative was not chosen as the preferred alternative because it did not improve safety at the intersection of Route 20 and 131 to the same extent when compared to the other alternatives. This alternative also did not achieve the goal of making the intersection a gateway to the town of Sturbridge through reducing vehicle speeds as you approach the commercial tourist district. The next alternative that was progressed was alternative 3A, which included a roundabout at the intersection of Route 20 and 131 with a roundabout at the intersection of New Boston Road and Route 20. This alternative also included a continuous median along Route 20 on the western product limits, and also included right turn out only from Fairgrounds Road and the Sturbridge Host Hotel onto Route 20 westbound. It also removed the existing signal at the intersection of Route 20 and Fairgrounds Road. This alternative was not chosen as a preferred alternative because a roundabout at the intersection of Route 20 and New Boston Road had similar impacts to both operations and improvements when compared to other alternatives, and it was determined that it may not be desirable to have back-to-back roundabouts in such a short stretch of Route 20, when the main goal of the project was to improve safety at both the intersections of Route 20 and Route 131 and New Boston Road and Route 20. So what was the preferred alternative? Based on the traffic and safety analysis performed during the alternatives analysis, alternative 1A was chosen as preferred alternative and progressed to 25% design. The proposed design included a roundabout at the intersection of Route 20 and 131 with a right turn only out of New Boston Road onto Route 20 westbound, along with a continuous median along Route 20 to the western product limits that only allows for right turns out of Fairgrounds Road and the Sturbridge Host Hotel onto Route 20 westbound. This alternative also includes the removal of the Fairgrounds Road and Route 20 signal. This alternative was chosen as the preferred alternative because the roundabout at the intersection of Route 20 and 131 provides a gateway to the town of Sturbridge by reducing speeds and providing multimodal connectivity throughout the product limits. The alternative was also consistent with the town of Sturbridge's 2014 Commercial Tourist District Improvement Plan. In the following slides, I'll go into further detail for the proposed design and the safety benefits of the roundabout at the intersection of Route 20 and Route 131. A major project goal was to improve safety along this section of Route 20, especially at the intersection of Route 20 and 131 and at the intersection of Route 20 and New Boston Road. Over a 7-year period between 2015 and 2021, there was 148 collisions that were reported within the project limits, with 133 of those collisions reported resulting in injury. Crash data along Route 20 shows reoccurring rear-end crashes at the intersection of Route 20 and 131 and reoccurring rear-end and angle crashes at the intersection of Route 20 and New Boston Road. These crashes are attributed to high vehicle speeds and turning conflicts throughout the project corridor. So you're probably asking yourself, how does a roundabout at the intersection of Route 20 and 131 help us meet our project goals related to safety? The roundabout design follows the best practices for geometric design that allow for safer conditions at the intersection. Vehicle deflection at the approaches of the roundabout and throughout the roundabout is a key parameter that slows vehicle speeds as they approach the roundabout and continue through the roundabout. That helps improve safety. As stated in previous slides, we did have 148 collisions that were reported along the project area, with a significant number of those coming from rear-end and angle crashes, which resulted in 133 collisions that resulted in injury. One of the reasons roundabouts are safer than a signalized intersection is because it reduces the number of conflict points at a roundabout when compared to for a roundabout. Generally, the point of conflict at a roundabout involves sideswipe collisions at low speeds, which are less dangerous than left turn or angle crashes or head-on collisions that can happen at signalized intersections. This result is a more significant reduction in fatal and injury crashes for a roundabout when you compare it to a traffic signal. The most severe vehicle-on-vehicle crash type is a T-bone, left turn, and head-on crashes, and these are avoided by the implementation of a roundabout. In the next slides, I'll go over the proposed design and the safety improvements proposed. So this slide shows a zoomed-in look at the western product limits of Route 20. The proposed design keeps the right out only onto Route 20 westbound from the Sturbridge Host Hotel driveway, but removes the left turning lane on the eastbound side of Route 20 and proposes a continuous median along Route 20. Vehicles trying to enter the Sturbridge Host Hotel driveway who are traveling eastbound along Route 20 will have to go around the proposed roundabout at the intersection of Route 20 and 131 and head back westbound on Route 20 to make the right turn into the Sturbridge Host Hotel driveway. The proposed design also includes an 8-foot wide shared use path on both sides of Route 20. There's also a proposed bike ramps on either side of Route 20 at the western product limits, which will allow bicyclists to enter and exit the shared use path at the product limits of Route 20. As we move east along Route 20, the proposed shared use path widens from 8 feet to 10 feet wide as we approach the Fairgrounds Road intersection of Route 20 on either side of Route 20, with a landscape buffer between the shared use path and the roadway. The project also proposes a mid-block crossing with a pedestrian hybrid beacon, or better known as a PHB, just west of the Fairgrounds Road intersection. This crossing allows pedestrians and bicyclists to safely cross Route 20 to access the commercial businesses on either side of Route 20, which is not possible in the existing conditions. The proposed design removes the existing signal at the intersection of Route 20 and Fairgrounds Road and replaces it with a right out only from Fairgrounds Road onto Route 20 westbound. Again, vehicles wanting to travel Route 20 eastbound from Fairgrounds Road will now have to go to the jug handle at Stallion Hill Road and make a left onto Route 20 eastbound to continue Route 20 eastbound. Vehicles wanting to enter Fairground Road from Route 20 eastbound will have to go around the roundabout at the intersection of Route 20 and Route 131 and head back westbound on Route 20 to make a right turn into Fairgrounds Road. As we continue east, we come to the intersection of Route 20 and 131. The project proposes to replace the existing signalized intersection at this location with a roundabout. The roundabout includes a right turn bypass lane from Route 131 northbound to Route 20 eastbound, which you can see on the lower right-hand side of the screen. The design also proposes a Route 20 westbound bypass lane through travel lane, which you can see at the top of the roundabout in the northern section. The proposed shared use path on the south side of Route 20 continues down Route 131, and the shared use path on the north side continues down Route 20. The proposed roundabout also includes shared use path crossings that include rectangular rapid flashing beacons and pedestrian hybrid beacons. The proposed center of the roundabout will be a landscaped island and will relocate the Welcome to Sturbridge sign in the center of the island. As we continue east down Route 20, we come to the intersection of Route 20 and New Boston Road. The project proposes to prohibit left turns out of New Boston Road onto Route 20 eastbound. Vehicles wanting to travel Route 20 eastbound from New Boston Road will now have to go down to the roundabout at the intersection of Route 20 and 131, go around the roundabout, and head back Route 20 eastbound. It does add a left turning lane on Route 20 eastbound to make left turns into New Boston Road. The 10-foot shared use path continues along the north side of Route 20 and ends just west of Route 20 and New Boston Road intersection, where it transitions back to a 5-foot wide sidewalk with a bike ramp just before the sidewalk transition, which you can see on the right side of the screen. As you continue down Route 20, you'll see the realignment of Route 20 westbound as you approach the Route 20 and New Boston Road intersection. The alignment differences is the green space just north of the slides is where the original roadway was, and it'll be shifting south to better tee up the intersection with Route 20 and New Boston Road. This realignment is being proposed to slow vehicle speeds and improve sight distance for traffic exiting New Boston Road on Route 20 westbound. As you continue to the eastern project limits, you'll come to the east-west access road and the jug handle intersection. The project is proposing to remove the existing jug handle along Route 20 westbound, realign the east-west access road to be a one-way street from Route 20 eastbound to Route 20 westbound. Moving south along Route 131 from the roundabout at the intersection of Route 20 and 131, the 10-foot shared use path along the east side of Route 131 will transition down to an 8-foot wide shared use path that will end at the first driveway, which is the Sturbridge Public Safety Complex. The 10-foot wide shared use path along the west side of Route 131 will continue through the Route 131 and Quinnebog Road intersection and transition back down to a 5-foot wide sidewalk with a bike ramp just before the sidewalk transition just south of the intersection. I'll now turn it back over to Mike from Mass DOT to go over the right-of-way impacts.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. My name's Michael Ruderman. I'm from the right-of-way section of MassDOT Highway Division. I'll stand so I can see the folks that are way in the back there. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate your attendance, your interest, and especially after the meeting, your comments, because we're still in the process of making our final adjustments to the design, partly based upon the information that you have by living in this area and sharing them with us. Let's go to the next slide, please. The right-of-way section is the part of MassDOT that uses eminent domain to acquire easements or land so that we have enough room, literally, to build the project. I use the word eminent domain intentionally because everything that we do is governed by a set of protections and laws. They're federal and state. They are for the protection of the public because if we are going to use eminent domain, we owe the public a certain number of procedures. One of them is to keep you informed every step of the way. That begins right here. For the formalities, I cite that it's in federal law, Real Property Act of 1970, Mass General Laws, Chapter 79. If you want to look at those in more detail, that's where you can find them. We keep you informed. We will assign a member of my team, either me or somebody working for me, to contact every owner individually whose property is going to be affected by some sort of taking, whether it's a temporary one, a permanent easement, say for a utility line or a drainage, or a taking in fee where the Commonwealth takes the ownership of a piece of property. We're still working on the final design. It hasn't been completely locked in yet, partly because we want to get your comments on that. When it is ready, it'll get turned over to me and my staff. We'll get in touch with everybody whose properties are part of the whole plan, and we'll contact you, find out when the most convenient time to set up a meeting with you is, and we'll go through all the details. How your property is going to be, how the damages, we refer to them sort of legalistically like that, damages, how the damages to someone's property are going to be appraised, how we compensate people for that taking. What happens if you don't agree with our appraisers and you want to have that number reviewed? We have a whole procedure for that. Ultimately, if we can't come to an agreement on what we think our taking should be valued at, there are procedures in the law where you can actually take the Commonwealth to court. We explain all those details in our one-on-one meetings. So, give us a little bit more time. We're finalizing our right-of-way plans. When those are ready, I'll be giving you a call, or one of my staff, and we'll sit down and we'll show you everything we've got and how the whole right-of-way process works. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I will now go through all of the environmental, cultural, and historical resources that are adjacent to the project and how they may be impacted by the proposed project. The proposed design will have no adverse impacts to environmental, cultural, or historical resources that are adjacent or within the project limits. The project will impact the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands, which are located within close proximity to the project limits. The wetland resource areas in close proximity to the project limits include wetlands just north of the western project limits off of the Route 20 associated with Cedar Brook, wetlands north and southeast of the Route 20 and Route 131 intersection, and wetlands located on both sides of the Route 20 westbound east of New Boston Road. Also, adjacent to the project limits is Cedar Pond, located north of the Route 20 and Route 131 intersection, which is classified as a great pond and will not be impacted. Historical resource areas within the project limits include the Old Sturbridge Inn and other inventoried properties around it and the Old Sturbridge Fairgrounds area. In the next slide, I will go over the construction approach and potential impacts during construction. Construction is currently scheduled to start in the spring of 2028. Construction is expected to take 2 construction seasons with 4 phases to limit disruptions to existing traffic flow, allow work to proceed efficiently, and ensure the safety of road users and workers during construction. There may be some temporary lane closures and some police details directing traffic during construction, but traffic will generally flow as it does today during construction. Access to businesses and abutters will be maintained at all times, along with ADA-compliant pedestrian access. Mass DOT will have an engineer on site to ensure the work is being done as approved. Construction activities will primarily occur during the weekday between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. If nighttime work or weekend work is deemed necessary, it will be subject to approval. The engineer will be coordinating with town officials through regular scheduled meetings. After tonight's hearing, we will review feedback that we receive and advance the project to a 75% design level. This design will include more detailed design documentation necessary for advertisement. This submittal will again be reviewed by Mass DOT engineers and reviewers as well as town personnel. Any comments generated by the reviewers will be addressed in the 100% design submission. A final submission, or planned specifications and estimate submission, will be packaged up and advertised for bid. Right now, the project is scheduled to be advertised in the winter of 2028, which would lead to construction starting in the spring of 2028. I will now hand it back to Greg from Mass DOT to go over how we will keep you informed.
Thank you, Nick. How will we keep you informed following tonight's hearing? You may access the project website by using a mobile device camera and focusing on the QR code on the slide. It may be difficult for some of you right now, but we'll make sure we leave it up there at the end of the night for anyone to walk up to and use your phone on it. You may also access the project website by using the web address on the screen, www.mass.gov/orgs/highway-division/events. The last sheet of the handout is a mail-in sheet. If you have any questions or comments which you would like to submit in writing, you may use this sheet for that purpose. You may email or mail it to the department within 10 days of this date, and it will become part of the official record. But please note, we do accept, following the 10 days, that's just to be put into the public record for this hearing. For mail-in correspondence, addressed to Carrie LaValle, PE, Deputy Administrator, and Chief Engineer at Mass DOT, 10 Park Plaza, Boston, Mass. 02116. Please place attention, Project Management, project file number 611933. And to email questions, comments, or concerns, please email to Mass DOT Project Management at dot.state.ma.us and include a subject line, attention, design public hearing comments, project file number 611933. So before we begin our public Q&A, it is tradition for Mass DOT to allow any public officials, such as town officials or elected officials, to speak at this time. Is there anyone that would like to speak from the town?
Well, I can speak. I'm on a board, public official. Yeah. I'll speak.
Yep.
Yeah.
If I could just speak generally on behalf of the town, and then we'll.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you all for coming. I'm the town administrator, Robin Graham, here with. I'm Robin Grimm. I'm the town administrator. I want to thank everybody for coming. I see our select board chair is here, our finance committee chair, other members of our board. Heather Blakely, DPW, Jean Boubon was mentioned as our town planner, our police department, of course, chief and deputy chief, because they see firsthand a lot of these issues. I just want to take a minute to thank all of you for coming. Public participation is the heart of what we do. I also want to thank DOT. This has been long-standing since 2014. We know there's a lot of passion for and against roundabouts, but I think that collectively we worked on something that can satisfy those concerns and alleviate some of the issues that we have now. So I just want to thank you all, thank my team, our boards for their support in all of this, and of course the public for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Yes. Good evening. Can you hear me? Louis Faison, and I'm on the Board of Health. And as you were hearing, the casualties and the safety aspects are really an important part of this. So for a number of years, I've been in touch with Jean Boubon, who's on our planning board, and we've sent letters. Maybe in your files there'll be a number of letters from me, in particular from the Board of Health, about the casualties. I want to just add there are at least 2 deaths that I'm aware of, in addition that weren't actually mentioned as far as casualties, almost 150 casualties. But actually, I have to admit, I also live off of New Boston Road, so I'm highly motivated to be involved with this. And my wife and I have had a home off of New Boston Road for 45 years. So one of the things, well, 2 of the things I think that as a someone who cares about traffic injuries and so forth as a physician on the Board of Health, is the volume of cars and the speed of the cars. Of course, the highway conditions are very important. That's what we're talking about today. But off of New Boston Road in 45 years, any of you who live near there, it is just phenomenal, the number of cars just in 10 years. And it's New Boston Road goes west or north out to the Brookfields, and a lot of traffic coming down through there. And I'd like to know if there have been some counts on the traffic and what the traffic pattern is and the volume of cars on the New Boston Road, because maybe we should consider a little more seriously the two rotaries that were rejected as far as right on New Boston Road. So the volume of cars is phenomenal. That means there are a lot of cars also turning against the traffic, 2 lanes trying to get up and go north on New Boston Road. So traffic's the main one, and then speed. And it's just amazing how fast cars are coming, and I'm sure there are people here in this room who are trying to make a left turn across 2 roads and go north on New Boston Road. You can't really tell, especially different times of day, visibility. Is the car going 40 or 50 miles an hour, 60 or 70 miles an hour? You just don't, you're taking a chance every time. And it's just the speed seems to be so critical. You do have to calm that traffic down. You can't blame people. They're just coming off of 84 going 70 miles an hour or more, whatever, on 84. They're just coming. This is the first thing right off of 84. How do they even know there's a town there? That this is actually a small town with a town road, and they're right in the beginning of town, and they don't even, they're tourists, they're travelers, they're not even cognizant of that. So I think if you go with the third plan, which calms the traffic down past New Boston Road, I think you still have to really consider how to calm that traffic down to town limits, 20 to 30 or maybe 40 miles an hour or something, because you just can't navigate that turn safely, and especially if someone else is trying to come out towards you from New Boston Road, you're trying to go north. It's quite a conundrum to get into. So I think the safety is a huge factor that's really what's going to make the town much more livable, and the speed is critical, and the volume has increased phenomenally in the last couple of years. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis.
People speak a little more into the microphone, it's a little bit hard to hear you. I heard you. Okay, but just in general.
Do we want to answer?
It's just straight.
I was just going to say, we have counts, and that was one of the things that the previous,
You want to go first? No, you go first. Okay.
I like the idea of traffic coming on 85.
So Mary Dowling, I'm a resident on the select board. I have a few questions. They're quick ones, so I'll just ask them all, then you can answer it. So the timing of this, I am concerned for residents. Starting at 7 in the morning, we have a lot of commuters trying to get on 84, trying to get on the Pike. What are you going to do to alleviate that traffic during construction so our residents can get to work in a timely manner? I know that you're stopping at 3, which is good, because 5, 6 o'clock, we have a lot of traffic on Route 20. So that's number one. Number two, when you say weekends need approval from the town, is that what you're saying? Or who is going to give you approval if you had to work weekends? Want me to get all my questions over?
MassDOT would be the first one to say, is this something we would consider? And then we would talk to the town and say, this is, and typically it's something where there's some specific thing that we have to do that might take a little bit more, impact traffic more, so we'd choose to do it at night. I don't.
Okay,
but
so you're
it
going to
would
go to
always
Mass
be-
DOT and then the town?
Right. 'Cause
Almost to
if we say
inform us
no, then
as
it's no,
opposed
but then would go to
to
the
get
town.
We would
permission.
still, it wouldn't be just, we wouldn't be going just saying this is what we're doing. It
No,
would be
no.
a coordination with the town
With
to
the
see
town.
if it would be possible.
Okay, I was
And
happy
the other question, the first question was the 7 o'clock, you're concerned about the 7 o'clock start?
for commuters,
Okay,
yes.
so I mean, we can look at that.
I don't know, that's my concern.
Well,
I don't know if
definitely.
others share that concern, but it is one of them. I was happy to see that you have some green space, and you said that we could put our Welcome to Sturbridge sign. That is our gateway, trying to make it aesthetically more pleasing. Will we have the right to landscape that green space as well? That would be
Us would welcome you to
Yeah.
do it.
Well, it'd be great if the state did it, but I don't have high hopes about that. How many people do you contemplate will be affected by the need to take property? Do you know at this point how many residents are going to be impacted or businesses by that?
So most of the takings that are happening are on the western project part of the limits, which is by, so if you're on Route 20 westbound side on the western project limits, it's those first couple of properties there. I think there's the brick oven pizzas right there. So those properties adjacent to that on either side are really where the takings are happening, and then across the street from that, where the Burger King is where a lot of the takings are happening. As you move east along the project limits, there's actually really not any takings. There might be a few temporary easements to grade in construction, but the right-of-way as you move east actually gets very wide throughout there, so there shouldn't really be any impacts to private businesses. It's really just at the beginning of the western project limits where you start getting into the more commercial part of Route 20 where it kind of narrows down. I think it's only 5 properties, I think, that might have an actual taking, and most of them are for utilities. There's 3 of them that is for shared use path, which is on the westbound side shared use path.
Okay, and then my other question was, is there any kind of crosswalk? Are you contemplating any additional sidewalks for the roundabout? And we're trying to increase walkability in our town. Is there going to be a way to get safely across from one side to the other?
Yep.
Can we put
I
that?
guess I missed
back
that,
up?
okay.
Yeah.
Just sorry.
I think it's slide
I saw the bike,
22.
Right there.
Yeah.
Those will be shared
light
bike
gray
paths.
is all.
I saw the bike, oh, and that's a crosswalk for pedestrians as well?
Yeah, so those are
Okay.
10-foot wide paths that can be used by both pedestrians and bicyclists. The crossings that you see on Route 20, across Route 20, those will be pedestrian hybrid beacons. And then the crossing across Main Street, Route 131, will be rectangular flashing beacons. Those are the ones you press the button, you see them just kind of flash. The PHBs, where it's an actual signal where you pass it, and it'll actually flash to warn a driver that they're prepared to stop, and then it'll actually turn to a stop. And it's a stop phase that allows pedestrians to safely cross at a stop phase across those crossings. And then if you, Taylor, can you go one slide back? And then we are adding a mid-block crossing just after Fairgrounds Road, which is in front of the CVS right there. We're putting in another mid-block crossing to allow pedestrians to get from one side of Route 20 to the other to access the commercial businesses on both sides. So it's anybody going to the Sturbridge Host Hotel or the inn can access both sides of it. Because I know there's a convention center back there, you have the Burger King, you have the seafood restaurant. So we're trying to make sure people can get from both sides of the roadway and access both commercial businesses, which is a little bit farther back from the roundabout.
And this is going to be believed to be a lot safer for the people coming off New Boston Road. I get a lot of people who live in those neighborhoods that, express their concern.
Yeah, you'll be able to get from New Boston Road, where New Panera Bread is, all that. You'll be able to get from there and actually walk on a continuous path all the way to the western project limits.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie Goodwin, Chair of the Select Board. 2 questions. First of all, thank you all for coming out here tonight. Thank you to all of our municipal employees for all their hard work. I'll speak. And can everybody hear me now? There it is. So really, I have 2 questions for you guys. The first question, I don't think 2 rotaries probably makes a ton of sense to me, but I do think Dr. Fazen's point about controlling that, I guess it'd be westbound towards Brimfield coming from Charlton Speed is a real concern, especially coming off, the Pike. Even if you're driving safely, you don't even know you're going 55 sometimes. Not that I've ever done that, but I think that the doctor's point and is a fair one is, how are we going to constrain that speed going up into that rotary? Because I know I believe in the one in Oxford, there's certain rumble strips, certain visibility that comes with it. How are we going? Eliminating all the cross traffic events makes a lot of sense because that'll prevent accidents. But how are we going to slow that down going into that intersection, and where will that begin? And hopefully it'll begin before New Boston Road. Can you give us a little information on that?
Yep. Taylor, can you go 3 slides ahead, I think? Yes. One more. Yeah, so if you look right here, this is just east of New Boston Road. This is the realignment section we're doing. You can see previously the road was kind of like a direct shot right in New Boston Road. You can see here, you start of what we call a switchback, kind of, where the road starts dipping down into the existing median that's there, and then it'll slowly start coming back up. And what these compound curves here are actually set to certain speeds to help slow traffic, so they kind of feel like they're doing more, instead of a straight shot, they're doing more of a weaving scenario to help try to slow them down. We're also putting the cross section of the roadway here to the minimum allowed by the design speeds for this section. Before it was much wider. We're really allowing for just a wide enough shoulder on the right side you can see here, which would be the outside shoulder, to allow that if there's an emergency vehicle, to allow people to be able to pull over to the side and get by. But this is the minimum cross-section allowed based on the speeds on this section of roadway and with the switchbacks we have. We are trying to slow people down as they're coming down here, and you can go one slide back to the New Boston. As you're coming just into New Boston, you can see we bumped out the nose of New Boston Road here to really be more of like a deterrent. It's starting to make the corridor feel more narrow as you're coming down in there. So it's not so much that you feel like you have a wide open racetrack, but as you're coming more into New Boston Road, it's starting to feel like more of a constrained condition. Especially if you have a car next to you, it's going to start feeling very constrained. It's only a 2-foot wide shoulder on the inside yellow line shoulder, which is against the center island, and it's a 4-foot wide shoulder on the outside, which is also the minimum we're trying to meet for this section of the roadway based on the design speeds. And then as you approach, one more back. As you're approaching the roundabout itself, those shoulders get even narrower. They go down to 2 foot and 1 foot. And again, that's the same idea, is to give you that idea that when you're coming in there, it's going to start feeling more tighter. You're going to start recognizing the car next to you if it's next to you. And it really makes you slow down. And then again, as you're approaching the roundabout, we have another switchback scenario where you have to dive down and then come back up to enter the roundabout. So those are a lot of things we use as traffic calming when it comes to speed to help slow down people. But as you said, as you're just east of New Boston Road, the only thing we really do is reduce the cross section to what I'm legally allowed to do to the design guide, and then also use some switchback and geometry features to help slow down vehicles. We can continue to further investigate, see if we can maybe make that switchback maybe a little bit more aggressive, so maybe it slows down cars, but there is design standards we have to meet based on the design speeds just for that section of roadway.
So when you say switchback, what you really mean is you're using a curvature to slow down cars because cars go faster straight.
Correct, yeah. So basically, as you come around the curve, it'll kind of dive you down in the intersection and then kind of back up. So you're kind of having to turn left and then right, which a lot of times slows down cars just because you feel more uncomfortable making that situation instead of just driving dead straight.
Okay. And is there anything we can do for the trooper barracks? Ask them to pay a little bit more attention in that area too, so people are coming off the turnpike?
We have talked to the state troopers, because again, we are taking away the jug handle and we are making the west access road a one-way. We have been talking to them, and they are fine with those changes. They are aware that there's obviously speeding that happens along there. Again, it's one of those things where I can set a speed limit, but it's all about enforcement. So again, we can keep in contact with the state troopers, but also the public contacting the state troopers barracks will also help with that. If there's really concern about speeds, as much as they're hearing about it, is how they're probably going to listen to it. But they are aware that there's speeding problems that happen, especially like you said, you're coming off of 84, you're probably just doing 65, 70 miles an hour. You come to a section that still feels like a highway, you're going to start carrying those speeds.
Well, because when you go back up to the New Boston Road piece earlier, the only really dangerous thing that I see that remains on this is that taking a left turn onto New Boston Road. That's where you're going to get a T-bone. Really seems almost impossible on the rest of this map. So anything you can do to slow people down, please do, and emphasize it with the troopers. The next point is more superficial. Can you please hide the MassDOT barn? We don't need to look at it. I don't need to see these gas tanks. I'm done with them. They're ugly. This is a tourist town. Let's get some coniferous trees up there. We can put some lights on at Christmas time. Come on, guys. It's ridiculous. So we're spending how much money and we can't plant some trees?
So I will say we do have a landscape architect who is a sub to this project. We also have a lighting subcontractor too, to add lighting around the roundabout to make it, again, we talk about safety of crossing this. At nighttime, a lot of times it's hard to see people. We're also adding lighting all around the roundabout.
I love it. Please, just hide that thing.
Yeah, we are trying to make it more visually appealing.
I have several questions, but we can start with this one. The first thing here is the radius of the roundabout itself, because I think roundabout's a great idea, but if you've Oh, if you've driven through the one in Oxford, you'll see most people shortcut that thing and go pretty much straight through, especially 10-wheel vehicles and semis. So if you're not making the radius big enough for these big rigs, school buses, anything of a substantial size to come through, they've got to cut it. So you've thought about that one, and you're taking that into account?
So we are looking at truck turning movements as well.
All the way to the end.
And I'll
We
let
have
Chris
them.
add on to it, but part of the deterrence we have here is vertical raised granite curb.
And now that's a question I have too. Vertical, like 18 inches?
Yeah.
So big trucks can't come over? Because that makes a big difference.
Well, and then the deflection that Chris was also talking about, we can look at adding even more deflection, but the deflection that we have in there should also more so allow the trucks to slow down further. Chris?
Okay.
So we have truck turn templates.
There you are.
Well,
That tracks all the wheels through
Okay.
the roundabout and shows where each wheel.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I know there was concerns. I know I've heard a couple concerns about trucks going through, especially if you have two trucks side by side. So I ran turning movements right here. You have a blue truck and a red truck side by side passing through the roundabout. Also the red truck on the bottom would make the same way it would go around the roundabout. But you can see it is a tight configuration, but the trucks can maneuver side by side through the roundabout on either side. The center island where you see the brick pattern, that is a mountable surface. It's roughly a 3-foot lip, but it kind of is a transversal rip, and then it'll be a reinforced center island. That is meant for the trucks to actually go across that. Because the problem is if I make the roundabout so big to account them not to have to mount it, then the speeds get very high in the roundabout, which is what we're trying to reduce for pedestrian vehicles. The same with up top, you have the bypass lane. That splitter island between the bypass lane and the actual roundabout, that also is going to be a mountable surface for these trucks potentially to have to use. Again, they have to go through a small section of the mountable spot on the north side there to make the maneuver. But again, if I was to make that flatter for them not to have to go over the mountable surfaces, then you're gonna have higher speeds again traveling through the roundabout. So it's kind of it's a little bit of a game of playing how fast do I want pedestrian vehicles who are the normal road users through here, and then how compared to do I want to make it possible for this is a W67, which is the big semi trucks you see, to be able to also go through here. So a lot of times we pick a control vehicle and a design vehicle. So the control vehicle for this was the truck, and when we do a design vehicle for that, basically they're allowed to mount mountable surfaces and leave their own travel lanes, but they have to do it in a safe manner, which is what we've done here. But again, it's you kind of no other option, because if I made it big enough for them not have to make mountable surfaces, then all of a sudden you have cars, instead of going 25, 30 miles an hour through the roundabout, they're going 35, 40 miles per hour through the roundabout.
And going with that too, here the crosswalks seem to be a little close to the roundabout. So if you have people crossing here at 131 or coming westbound here at 22, eastbound, sorry, that if someone's in the crosswalk, you're going to back people up into the roundabout. So is it possible to move those crosswalks a little farther back beyond the island, so as people are crossing in that 20 or 30 second time span you're giving them, that traffic isn't backing up and clogging the roundabout?
Yeah, so we follow a public design guide for roundabouts that was established by Mass DOT. These are actually at the maximum setback we're allowed to have, because again, you're playing that same game of, as you're exiting a roundabout, you're going to start accelerating through the roundabout. As you're getting out of the entrance, a lot of times you're going to come through at a slower speed, you're going to get up to it, and you're going to start accelerating. So the farther we actually put them down, the higher chance that a car is going much faster as they're going to approach the pedestrian crossing. We also this is the minimum space we allow for some queuing. Again, these are going to be separated crossings. So that first crossing you see on Route 20 down, that is one crossing. So somebody will press the pedestrian hydrant beacon, it'll stop traffic, allow them to cross, and then it'll let them go, and then they'll have to initiate another push button on the farther northern crosswalk. So it's not like the entire roundabout will be frozen for them to make it from one side of Route 20 to the other. They're just going to go from Route 20 westbound side or eastbound side here, get to the center island, have to walk, press another button, and only stop the westbound traffic.
Okay. So one at a time, it's not going to...
Correct. Yeah, it's not going to stop both westbound and eastbound all at the same time. It'll stop one side, then they'll have to activate another button to cross the next section.
Okay, can we go back to the picture then where New Boston Road comes in? And the jug handle fits, that's perfect right there. So I live on Fisk Hill Road, and that was part of another construction project, and there weren't enough physical barriers put in place to prevent people from taking illegal left turns or taking illegal left turns across Route 20 into the cold storage plaza area. How do you prevent someone coming down New Boston Road if that angle isn't enough to cover from trying to cut across and getting on Route 20 eastbound? That's where I'm talking about like 18-inch boundaries, or that needs a little more overlap, or you block it off completely and make them turn around at the plaza and come back.
Yeah, so we have, I said we have nosed that out. This is also going to be a high reveal curb, so it's at least a minimum of 6-inch curb reveal here. So if you were to ride over with your regular car, you're probably going to ruin a tire or ruin the bottom of your car. We can also look to make sure I've run some turning movements already, the same way how you saw with the trucks, I've done with the car. It's an extremely hard maneuver to make a left out of there and then come through there. I know people do it.
Yeah.
I will make sure that if I need to extend, so if you look at the island that comes down New Boston Road, I'll make sure that the nose of that extends as far as possible to make sure vehicles would almost have to be going wrong way down Route 20 to make it through there. It feel extremely uncomfortable for them.
Yes.
And with the roundabout, it provides an easy way to U-turn, and so theoretically...
People don't think that way, though. They think I can save 30 seconds by going this way.
But I will make sure that you would have to be basically going Route 20 the wrong way, which is going to be very, especially if you have all those high speeds, you're going to feel extremely uncomfortable to do that.
So let's go to the removal of the jug handle
Yep.
then. Same thing there. You're making it a one-way street, but you're not preventing a left-hand turn from Route 20 westbound. People do that now. They stop on Route 20 and take the left, especially people who aren't from Massachusetts and coming off the Pike and realize I took the wrong exit.
So you're talking about people going down the wrong way?
Yeah, coming down the wrong way. That happens a lot.
So well, right now the roadway is a 2-lane roadway that allows traffic in both directions. Now it would be turned to a one-way, so it's going to be
There's also no signage today. We're
Yeah.
proposing a
Signage doesn't mean anything. I know it's nice to say, but we had no left signs for a decade.
Yeah.
I
We
would-
can look at the geometry
Yeah.
and make that
We
really.
can make it more difficult.
Yeah, more of a turn, because I'm telling you, people are going to do it.
Yeah.
'Cause they do it now.
I don't know how many people are going to use it this way. Another big thing we look at too.
I just want to make sure I'm clear. And when I say they do it now, I'm not saying they use the jug handle to do it. They stop on Route 20.
They take a left.
left.
They take a left. Yeah. Yeah. So in this one, it's kind of, we'll look at see if we can make the geometry, make it angled a little bit more, so it really is a big sweeping curve to make in there. The one thing that I'm concerned about is that if we do that, it's making it more than a 90-degree angle for people having to look over their shoulder. And we're gonna get to a point where they're almost looking like in your blind spot, as you would call it. 'Cause
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So I can look at trying to angle it a little bit more so that it's more than a 90-degree turn to get in there, but it's at least less than like I guess you would call it like 130 degrees. You're not like looking over your shoulder to look for cars going 45 miles an hour.
Right, just a
Yeah.
little bit. There's a little psychological.
We can
line of sight
definitely look into that. So now it will only be for
Yeah.
Yeah, authorized vehicles only.
I mean, if it's a little tougher to get out, they can put on their lights.
They can put on their lights. And I also want to stand too that this is going to be only an access for police vehicles now, authorized police vehicles. Again, they might not do it. It's going to be the same thing you see a lot on the Mass Pike. There's also going to be, we can make it actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we can make that angle a little more, because we're also talking with the Mass State Police right now about putting in flashing lights so that when they do enter these locations, they can activate them to warn cars farther up Route 20 westbound that there is a police vehicle entering Route 20 westbound. So that might allow us to make that even more of a turn away from it, because there will be advanced warning that there is a state trooper vehicle or a police vehicle
They
entering.
flip on their lights, everyone slows down. So
No,
that's a
100%.
very
Well,
convenient
it'll be
thing.
somewhere they have to flip on their lights to activate, but these flashes would be farther upstream, so that vehicles will see a sign that says, police, emergency vehicle
Vehicles
entering.
entering, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
All right, thank you. All right, from here, we'll open the floor up to all who would like to provide comment or ask a question. But we do request all comments to be polite and limited to 2 minutes. Just because of so many folks here, we want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to be heard. But you're welcome to come back up again with another question. But if you did have anything lengthy or something that you need a little more of a longer explanation or detail, again, please feel free to use that last sheet of the handout, or email us or mail it to us, and we will provide you a response.
Can I just ask again one more time that people speak like directly into the microphone? My hearing is not incredible, so
Sure.
frustrating to hear people.
Yes,
There's
thank you.
one seat up here. Yeah.
Good evening.
People should,
I have a question about the roundabout at Stallion Hill, because this plan is going to direct a lot more traffic onto that jug handle. What is the safety plan to keep that from backing up onto Route 20?
Yep. Okay, do we have the,
Yeah, so that, there actually isn't a whole, we looked at the volumes that we would be directing that way, and there actually isn't a huge increase to that, and it is all pretty much maintained by the existing conditions. That intersection, while it was part of our overall study area, it's not actually part of the study, or the project area, so that won't have any reconstruction related to it.
I don't think that's the question, though. I mean, the question, what he's asking is there any, we understand. So we understand that there is going to be, you are diverting traffic there, and I guess really the question is what is the increase in traffic that will be occurring? Because if I understand it correctly, they're trying to make sure that Stallion Hill Road operates because there's a lot of village traffic there. The businesses are really busy. So yeah, it might not on a Tuesday at 10, it might not seem like a big deal, but Saturday morning, it's a different kettle of fish.
Yep.
So if we could just get the numbers, please,
Yep.
so we have a bit more of a sense.
For a typical Saturday, what we have is an increase of 30 vehicles making that left turn,
across the whole day or in peak hour?
just during the peak hour.
Peak hour.
peak hour?
Our peak hour it's basically the highest traveled volume, and we have from 1 to 2 p.m. on Saturday.
Also, if I could also just request any folks who do speak, if you could just state your name just for the stenographer, be appreciated.
Liz Banks, 133 Walker Pond Road.
Dan, can you lower the thing for?
All right, Liz Banks, 133 Walker Pond Road. And I apologize, I missed the very beginning, so I apologize if this was already asked. Is this a done deal?
We're at 25%. So it's
5%?
25%. So early on in the
What,
design.
what is the goal of making that 131 and Route 20 a rotary? What's the goal?
Yeah, so making it a roundabout there is to improve the safety aspects. As stated in the, you might have missed it, but there's been 148 collisions reported along the Route 20 corridor, with 133 resulting in injury. That 133, yep, go ahead.
But not at that intersection. Those are all up the street in front of Cracker Barrel and where there's nothing happening.
They're
Within our project
It's in our project
limits.
limit, but they're roughly split, so we have, it's gonna be at like the same place where those turning movements were. So we've broken it down, it's roughly split at those two locations, where there is a good amount of conflicting left-hand turns going from Route 20 westbound onto 131 southbound. There's also a lot of rear-end collisions at that location because of the high speeds and people approaching a stoplight and thinking that somebody might be going through the stoplight and stopping short. There's a lot of rear-end collisions also at that intersection, also along Route 20 westbound. This roundabout will lessen the conflict points, which you can see up here, where you get rid of a lot of those turning conflicts, which also are going to lower the speeds. Right now, there's nothing stopping a vehicle that comes off of, like you said, 84 and continue to go 45, 50 miles an hour and go right through a green light or run a red light and hit a vehicle making a turn. It's just a straight shot. With the roundabout, it's a physical barrier where they have to stop and slow down to our required speed to go through the roundabout, which approaching is 30 miles
They're
an
not
hour.
going to stop at a red light. Why? They're not going to stop on a roundabout.
They have no choice unless they're going to run right through the roundabout.
And my other question is, right now, the way the traffic pattern is at that light, if you're coming from 131 from the Southbridge area, you have a light, you can go. Now, if they put in that rotary, you're going to be, you have to dodge cars to go around the rotary to get in your direction. In my personal opinion, it's making the issue worse, not better. I mean, New Boston Road absolutely needs a rotary there, and so do they do up by Cracker Barrel. But 131 and 20, it's been working beautifully for years, and I disagree with your, the accidents. They're all up at the other end. They're not many of them are right there at that intersection.
I know we have them. They're going to be
You're gonna have to
exit out again, probably.
escape.
Yeah, you have a list of where they happen on the street?
We have like an
Yeah.
actual
Oh, okay.
diagram.
Yeah, I'd like to see
If you
that.
continue to roll all the way down.
So do you have room for changes?
Yeah, so we are looking at public, so I just want to pull this
Oh,
up.
and I have one other comment. I've been to some of these in different parts of the state, and the three that I've been on, they had to change the curbing because tractor trailers couldn't go around it, the school bus couldn't go around them, the fire trucks couldn't go around it without bumping, off the road, knocking down signs. So it's you only made it one lane around. I don't know how wide it is, but it's got to be wide enough to accommodate all those vehicles.
Yep, so on the single lanes where it's on either end, they're 18 feet wide. The bypass lane itself is 13 feet wide. The lane within the roundabout, if you're going Route 20 westbound, is 16 feet wide. And then if you're going Route 20 eastbound through the roundabout, which are the two lanes in the bottom part of the roundabout, those both are 15 and 14 feet wide. So they widen out considerably to allow for both trucks and vehicles to feel comfortable maneuvering through there.
Fire truck is coming through. It
Yep.
can fit.
Yeah, so
Because I've heard that before, and in
No.
reality, it's not true.
No,
What my engineer friend here is saying is that they measured it. And the slide I would call the Dr. Seuss slide, the one truck, two truck, red truck, blue truck
Yeah.
slide, that shows the measurements in place. Your concern is right on point. It also happens to be something that they actually measured and laid out their plans to accommodate those widths. And when somebody drops one of those traffic jargon things like WB 67, I think, God, got to explain it. Wheelbase 67, that's an 18-wheeler. That's something with a wheelbase of that many feet. They measure and design for these very conditions that you see. So I'm saying, they've seen it.
Yeah, well, just like the one up in Oxford, you can't get two tractor trailers to go around
Yeah.
that thing at one
So
time.
this one is definitely more spaced out than the Oxford one, I can promise you that. This one, like I said, it's meant for 67s to go through it, which is the bigger trucks, which are actually bigger than fire trucks. We looked at all the vehicles that come out of the safety complex, which is obviously right here on 131. But we ran ladder trucks through here to make sure they can make it through it. Like I said, the bottom half of the roundabout is 32 feet wide. And a fire truck is allowed to take as many lanes as they want. They also have the 12.5-foot mountable island. So you're talking about roughly close to 45 feet of navigable lane through the roundabout that an emergency vehicle could use to get through. The same with the top. You have a 13-foot wide lane and you have a 16-foot wide lane, but also that center median running lane that was a bypass lane is also a mountable surface. So again, you're talking over 35 feet of mountable surface that an emergency, like a ladder truck can go through. We also make sure that a ladder truck can also go all the way around the roundabout. So if they want to make a U-turn to go from Route 20 westbound to Route 20 eastbound, we also run the ladder trucks, being one of the biggest vehicles that most fire departments have. We also run that through there to make sure they can maneuver. Because, like, again, the biggest thing as an engineer for me is to make sure that if there is an emergency, we want to make sure that emergency personnel, especially because you have a safety complex here, you also have the state troopers barracks, we want to make sure that they can still do their jobs and get to where they need to help any residents or citizens in the area.
Also, to go back to your crash comment, it's really hard to see this, but each one of those numbers represents a crash that happened here in the past, I think it's 2015 to 2021. And
What
so,
about the other end is way higher?
Yeah.
right, so the next slide is at New Boston. We don't go past that because that's outside of our project limits. I understand that there are safety issues there too, but these are the ones that we studied as part of our project area.
So you can see, just looking at the slide, the biggest conflict, you can see all these numbers kind of stacking up. The biggest conflict is a left out turn with a vehicle coming down Route 20 westbound. You can see that's one of the biggest conflicts. There's also some rear end crashes here and some right out crashes, but the biggest crash here, which is, I'll just get up and point it out. You can see these stack of numbers here, which Michaela was talking about, all down here. Those are all the same crash happening over and over and over again, and which is predominantly the left out with Route 20, which is your T-bone accident, which is the biggest one we try to get away from because it's one of the major ones that results in either fatality or injury. Can you go back one slide? And then you can see at, this is 131 here. Most of these are either happening, you can see a lot of the rear ends that are happening at the outside lane of Route 20 westbound. Those are a lot of the rear ends. A lot of those are happening because you're having high-speed vehicles coming. They're coming to the light, having indecision whether they should stop or go, and the person behind them can't figure out exactly what they're doing and is going to guess the opposite. So you're going to have a lot of high-speed, potentially high-speed rear-end collisions because you're going to have somebody in front of them thinking they're going to stop, and the person behind them thinking they're going to go, and they could be going 40 miles an hour and crash in the back of them. You also, you can see you have a lot of left-turning vehicle collisions that are happening with vehicles making a left-hand turn, either for a U-turn or coming into that lane. And then you can see also farther down, point out again right here, a lot of these accidents and these accidents are happening for the same thing because it's a lot of indecision about vehicles, whether they're not sure if they have enough space to get out before a vehicle comes down here to get out here, so they might be edging forward and stopping, and the next vehicle is going to hit them. And the same thing's happening here is that they're having to look so far behind them to see that they're kind of inching forward, the car behind them thinks they already went, and they run into the back of them. Again, these are some lower vehicle speeds that are happening here, because again, they're in some of these turning bays. These are the ones we were really looking at with the higher end speed, which is why we looked at putting in the roundabout here, because the biggest part is reducing the speeds, not only for this intersection, but then continuing those speed reductions as you move farther west down Route 20 and you start getting into the commercial district, and then even as you get into more like a more downtown feel as you come farther down Route 20.
Hi, Robert Hornstein. I live in the Preserve off of New Boston Road. I guess I'm not sure you're really getting the traffic speed down coming into New Boston Road going westbound. I disagree with some of the other colleagues who said it's the exit coming off of 84. That exit off of 84 is a tight turn. That's not the speed that's coming. It's the speed of the people coming further up east, and they're running down there, going 60, like a little bit past the kind of Hall Road, and they gun it. So I'm wondering if you've considered where the police entrance is. If we could get a blinking yellow there, I think that would really slow the traffic down. It's still, I think, the left turn coming eastbound onto New Boston Road. I still think that's an issue. I think, yeah, you solved half or three-quarters of the problem by getting rid of the double left turn, which was a complete disaster. But if we can get a blinking yellow there, right where the police road is between the two, that'll force the people to slow down, and that would also be better than if we just put a stoplight there and it just stop the whole traffic. At least a blinking yellow. Please consider that, and also please consider rumble strips a little further up. Somewhere around where that exit 6B comes off. Rumble strips not for the people who are exiting. I think their speed's fine. It's the other people who are jamming down. And I'm not sure that your little bends and up and down is really going to slow people down, but blinking yellow will. So please consider that.
Yeah, we can definitely continue to look at other countermeasures for traffic calming, as we would call it. Like you said, you talk about rumble strips. We could talk about even speed feedback signs, which sometimes people see those as like, how fast can I go? But just in general, we'll look at stuff like that. I can also look to see if I can even tighten up that geometry more of that switchback even more, working with Mass DOT to make sure it's appropriate again. But I can work with them.
I think that those things will help, but that blinking yellow, that will slow people down, and that'll give enough time too, because if you look at the distance from where the police, the connection between 20 West and 20 East, the police connection, and New Boston Road, if that blinking yellow is right there, or maybe even a little east, that's going to give the time to slow people down, and I'm still a little uncomfortable about the left turn that you still left going, but I think that'll maybe solve the problem.
Yeah, we can definitely look more into any more countermeasures we can do there to slow people down.
Please, thank you.
Excellent. and talking to us about this.
You have to go right up to it.
My name is Diane Spurlock, Lead Mine Road. And thank you all for being here and doing this for us. We really appreciate it. Two quick questions. One, what is the expected duration of the project? So starting in 2028, like the actual construction,
seasons.
what are you expecting or anticipating?
So right now it's phased in 4 phases. It'll be roughly 2 construction seasons. So construction season, basically like your spring, summer, and then fall. The winter time, really, they can do some work, but once it gets too cold for them to dig the ground, you can't like asphalt, concrete, stuff like that. So it's basically 2 of those from spring to fall construction seasons out right now, and it'll be phased out in 4 different phases. Again, it's phased out a little bit more to, again, help try to maintain 2 lanes in each direction along Route 20 to try to lessen the most impact to traffic flow, basically.
But what is the, like in years?
So that'd be 2 years. So it'd be
2 years in duration.
Yeah. So it'd be basically it would start in the spring of 2028, be all of 2028, and then there would be some action happening, winter 2028, and then full construction would happen again spring 2029 and go all into the end of 2029.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. My other question is sometimes there's a tremendous amount of gridlock that's coming from east to west, and that might be maybe during the Brimfield Fair, it might be due to some accidents, and the traffic gets very narrow. It goes down to the 1 lane through Sturbridge, so sometimes that's backed up. Has there been a study that normal backup for those normal seasons or accidents or whatever down there would impact the entire, more of the, like right now it's only impacting the one side for the most part, but it feels like a roundabout, it'll impact all sides. So I'm just trying to get my head around it.
Yeah, so if you're basically talking about potentially vehicles who are going Route 20 eastbound, basically going farther into Sturbridge out towards Western Mass, kind of the Brimfield area, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so again, we put in that bypass lane specifically to help try to alleviate some of that. So vehicles who are wanting to go straight, hopefully will be maintaining that bypass lane, because it'll be a little bit faster for them. It's also a good space for queuing to happen where it won't cause much congestion in the middle of the roundabout for any vehicles that are trying to go, left into Route 131. And then also, again, we don't want to back up vehicles who are trying to go Route 20 eastbound. So the reason why we did one of those bypass lanes was to help operations during the more heavy traffic period, to allow vehicles basically to continue through there, queue up through there, and not have to stop the rotary traffic of the actual roundabout. I know, I think we do have some observations. I'm not sure if we have them on hand.
Yeah, we don't have them on hand, but that is something that we looked at, and I basically agree with what he said. The bypass lane, westbound, you said
Westbound,
eastbound.
yeah. We'll help basically allow that to be a queuing space, and also allow for vehicles to be queued up there and not impact the actual center lane of the roundabout.
Great, thank you. I realize that it's outside of the scope of this particular project, but is there a study for out in front of the Cracker Barrel area where I think all of us are pretty aware that's a pretty awful accidents over there? Is there a study that's actually going on? Is there anything that's happening anywhere?
So we have a project. We have a project it's Hall Road. It's from the 84, basically the start of where it splits off for the 84 ramps, and it goes to 1,000 feet east of Hall Road. So it includes Cracker Barrel, it includes Hall Road and some of those businesses. So that we have a designer on board. We're doing the preliminary engineering now. There's actually a road safety audit later this month where a bunch of, all the different divisions of MassDOT, we have the emergency responders, representatives from the town. They all come and, spend basically half a day just focusing on that project and identifying the safety issues and ways to address them.
Great, thank
So
you.
that's
That's encouraging.
preliminary, but that's projects advancing.
Thank you. Yep.
My name is Michael Supernat, and I live at 14 Laflamme Lane in Sturbridge.
You have to be a little closer.
A little closer, okay. My name is Michael Supernat, and I live at 14 Laflamme Lane in Sturbridge. My first comment is I'm looking at the mid-block crosswalk that goes from the drugstore to the cannabis shop. I would suggest you move it down to the host driveway. That way, people that are having accommodations on the south side of Route 20 overnight, they can go and get a burger, or people on the north side of Route 20 could cross and go get a pizza. So I think consider moving it down to the driveway at the host.
Yeah, we can. I know we looked at a few places when we were trying to put this. Right now, the spot we chose was the one that had the least impact on right-of-way, just because, again, the right-of-way gets very tight on that western limits. The utilities.
That's his job.
Yeah. Also, the utilities get very constrained in that location. There's a lot of utility poles that kind of sit. You can probably see them if you're parking those parking lots. There's a lot of utility poles with a lot of different. You have EverSource, you have some Town Fiber on there, you have some Verizon on. There's a lot of utilities in there. We had a utility coordination meeting at the beginning of May. We went out there and we talked about, and they were pretty concerned about trying to move it farther down just based on the utility pole relocation. We would potentially have to be taking a lot more land from some of those commercial businesses. We can look at maybe trying to have one maybe a little more farther west, maybe, where we maybe can find a little more less of a constrained right-of-way area. It just gets really constrained with utilities and right-of-way the farther west we go. But I can definitely look in some areas, because I know there was something the town brought up that they wanted some sort of crossing in this area. So I tried to find an area that at least would work, where we could put in at least something to show you guys that we are looking at an area to put a crossing here. I can look at other areas where potentially we can move it farther down. I know there's an area we were looking at that's kind of in front of that brick oven pizza. The problem is that there's not a lot of room there again, because you have that retaining wall that's right there. I don't know if you guys know where it is. But then also there's an overhang right there, and we're already getting very close to that overhang already. And so if we had to put any sort of like mast arms, which is what you have right here, again, those mast arms are for the pedestrian hybrid beacons that are really important to make sure there's safe crossing. They do take up a lot of room, and you have to drill down pretty deep for those settings. So we want to make sure that we're not going to be disturbing any building foundations also, which is just a potential with that the brick oven pizza. But I can look if we can go a little bit farther, closer to the inn, if there might be an area there, because there's a lot of front lawn there to work with. So I'll look into those try to move it farther down.
Yeah, it just makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, kind of going more from the inn to like the seafood restaurant and the Burger King type of area down there.
Yeah, I'm presuming that the approach speed westbound to New Boston Road, the 85th percentile speed's over 50 miles an hour. And how are you going to calm that with just the reverse curve? I've done calming by signalizing an intersection that's coming off of a high-speed highway.
Yeah, so right now
which is one of the warrants.
Yeah.
Is for signalization is at that location may meet a warrant for the first intersection off a high-speed highway.
Yeah, so right now our 85th percentile speed that we got for that section of road is 48 miles per hour, so it's a very high speed.
I don't even believe that.
That's just what our traffic data says.
I've been here long enough.
But yeah, it's our
about 52 might be around.
Yeah, so we had 48 miles per hour, or 85th percentile speed, and that was basically recording over 11,000 vehicles for getting that speed data. So we got a pretty good data from when we did those speed recordings. I know that Michaela might be able to go somewhere with the warrants that maybe the intersection didn't meet, which is why we potentially couldn't put a signal there. Again, we can investigate trying to do more of the flashing yellows, trying to get more speed carriers. I can try to work maybe with Master T, see if I can even narrow that section down even a little bit more. Because as you're coming in, the more narrow it is, the less likely you are to hopefully reduce those speeds.
But given all what you've said, would Mass DOT or the commissioners reduce the speed limit to 35, say? Because it's 45 all through there.
So part of reducing speed limits is you really need to make it the best step and best measure is to reduce that cross section to make it uncomfortable to go that fast. Because even a lot of times when we do the speed studies, sometimes they go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but just changing the sign, a lot of folks, if they're comfortable driving that fast, they'll go that fast.
But how, if it's not enforceable, how would our police department enforce it if somebody's speeding through there, say at 50 miles an hour versus 40? I mean, they're going to,
Yeah, I think it's.
I'm thinking about enforcement. How can it be enforced if the speed limit isn't changed?
So, I was gonna say, I know it drops down to, can we go like 2? It goes to 30, I was gonna bring this up, so, couple more up, please. One more. All right, so right here. So you can see right where it says Main Street and then it says 20 right there.
Yeah.
If you continue to the right, there's a guardrail section right here.
And that's where the
It drops to 30 miles per hour right here.
35, yeah.
There's a sign that says 30 there right now. Yeah, I think I even have a picture in the slide that we have it too. We have a 30 mile per hour. I know it drops to 30 miles per hour right there. So again, I think even past there, they're still going roughly 43 miles an hour in a 30 mile per hour zone. So again, and we're trying to range that in even more. Like they said, it's really sometimes can be hard to reduce the speed limit. It's one of the hardest things we do. But there is a 30 mile per hour limit very close to that New Boston Road intersection.
If you don't reduce, if you can't legally reduce the speed in that zone, then I don't think I think you really, you might not be complying with MUTCD as far as that intersection goes.
So I think with Massachusetts,
with the, you'd have to have a design exception, I think.
so I know the hardest thing, like Massachusetts said, if they did a speed study and it said to make it a speed limit higher, you have the running chance of having to make the speed limit higher at that point.
Yes.
It kind of it can't go. It can go both ways. Is what I'm saying. And I'm more afraid of opening it. And if
it's based on how fast people are driving. And if people
Yeah, I
are
know,
driving
that's why I said the
fast,
85th.
then if you try to change the speed, if you want to do a speed study, the speed goes up a lot of times.
I know.
I would rather try to.
We do struggle with getting what is a reasonable speed.
Reasonable and
we have
proper
like a
speed,
target. We go for a target speed, and we try to kind of make the conditions such that that's what the road feels like you should be driving.
Okay. So through that intersection, you mentioned you worked on a design speed through that intersection. And what is your design speed through that intersection?
So for the S curves there,
if it was 48 miles an hour, 85th percentile, then you'd have to design for 50 miles an hour going through the.
So not necessarily. So when we're doing design speed, sometimes if we're trying to reduce speed limits, we actually can make geometric design features that actually force you to slow down to bring you down at speed limit. Just because you are going 50 miles per hour doesn't mean I necessarily have to design it to if I want you to be going 40 miles per hour. So I am legally, by the design guide from MassDOT, I can actually put in geometrical differences, which are those switchbacks, curbs, stuff like that, to force a driver to not feel comfortable be going 45, 50 miles an hour.
Okay. Just a couple of things still on New Boston Road. The queue length eastbound, I've noticed from experience that there's not enough queue. There's always vehicles trying to take a left turn, and they're out in the fast lane.
Yes, you're
So
talking about.
you might want to take a look at that queue length.
You're talking about the left turn lane into East Boston from
left-hand
Route 20 eastbound.
lane.
We extended that left turn pocket, I think 150 feet, I believe.
And it's based on our analysis, so it should
Should
fit the capacity.
I'll tell you right now, it's a pretty long turning pocket.
I think we more than doubled what's out there today.
The other conflict in that area is the deceleration lane to 84 southbound. There's really nothing there right now, and there's a conflict with left turn, right turn, and straight through traffic that people get confused. So you might want to widen or extend the deceleration lane to 84 southbound.
Okay, yeah, we can look at that.
Thank you.
Hi, Kirsten John. I have two hopefully quick comments. The first would be on the rotary, and this is a small comment. My request would be that you don't put the Welcome to Sturbridge sign on the rotary so that you can see all the traffic that's in the rotary, right? Just being able to see. Over to the side of one of the roads would be, in my opinion, ideal. My second request is we're doing a lot to reduce the speed going through town. That's fantastic. My concern is the other direction going west, which is the concern that I think a lot of people are concerned about, the area that a lot of people are concerned about with the Cracker Barrel and everything. And I understand that that's a separate project. I think my concern is that we're solving half of a problem to create a bigger problem to deal with after. Thank you.
So I'll just let you all know too that at the Noble Energy site, we are, the town has been very vocal in their support of a signal there, a temporary signal, as well as your legislators. So we are going to permit a temporary signal at the Noble Energy site. So it's not a total fix. I mean, there's no U-turn. So, but it will be something that will create some gaps for the people turning out of Cracker Barrel and Hall Road, and at least traffic will stop at least when there is a red light.
Now, when you say temporary, why is it temporary and how long is it?
Well, it's not really a great fix because there's no U-turn. And when we do Hall Road, you know, if we do something like put in a median, you have to have a way for people to turn around.
But is that going to go soon, that temporary?
They're very eager. The proponent is very eager. We don't have we didn't give them a timeline, but they're just about to get the permit. We expect them to move pretty quickly.
Like this, is that a this year kind of thing?
I think it would be this.
Yeah,
year.
I think it's something they're trying to.
Yeah, let's keep
Yeah.
this, everybody
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's stick to the questions and speak into the microphone.
I'm up off of New Boston Road, and I would like to address the westbound approach to New Boston Road, which is the concern of many people on the speed. Please consider a turning lane for 2 or 3 cars to pull over so that traffic does not have to go around cars as they try to turn and there's a backup.
So you're talking about roughly like a deceleration lane to come in.
You've got a very shallow, on the design picture, you have a very shallow or thin.
There, oh, go back. Yeah, there you go.
The picture prior to that.
Yeah, go back one. Sorry. Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Is that shoulder wide enough to make a slow down lane in there?
Yeah, so you're saying can we add some sort of deceleration lane to get
Yes.
you out of the oncoming? We
Yes,
can
and that-
definitely look at that. I think that'd be a great idea to look at, to give people who are going Route 20 westbound to New Boston Road, to give them the time to slow down and actually make a maneuver. We can definitely look at that.
2 things. If you're going to take the traffic light out to put the rotary circle in, you can use that light for the end of the St. Police Barricade Road. And my idea is instead of allowing people to turn off of 20 westbound onto New Boston Road, is to put the turn off for the State Police Road and use that to allow the people that are going onto New Boston Road to turn around and come back to New Boston Road. Therefore, you don't have anybody trying to make the left off of New Boston Road onto 20. Everybody knows you shouldn't be doing it, but they're doing it anyways. The second thing is, are we putting any signage up to tell people that to take the rotary, you need to be in the left-hand lane? If you're going straight through, stay in the right-hand lane. You know, slow down for people in the thing, because I just see Route 20 running crazy and people coming down 131, not even being able to get into the rotary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'll throw it over to Caleb.
I can,
Enough said. Thank you.
yeah. So I guess to address your first comment about like pushing the traffic that's trying to go on New Boston to the police turn, that was one of the 15 alternatives that we had looked at. One of the major concerns with that is that you're pushing that traffic closer to the high-speed traffic that's coming from Route 20, and so you're almost giving them a less safe place for them to turn.
Straightaway makes it easier for people going to New Boston Road to see the traffic coming rather than fighting them.
Right, but how we're redesigning the road here, we're improving the sight lines for those people to turn. So theoretically, people are going slower as they're coming around, and they're more visible than they are today, where they are. And then for your second one, we are proposing a lot, that's one of the things I do. We have a lot of signs that we are looking into, some big guide signs to really show people what lane they need to be in, where they're trying to go, all of that.
Slow down, 35 miles an hour, speed one over the whole road.
We can also look at different pavement markings too. I know we've in the past used pavement markings to tell people the speed limit. We even told them to say which lane to be in to as you're approaching. So that's something we can look at too.
Penny Davis, 136 Walker Pond Road, and I chair the Community Preservation Committee, and I know you might think, well, what does that have to do with this roadway? I can just say it gives me firsthand knowledge that Sturbridge cares about their community and what we look like, and we should. We're a tourist town, and we're a nice place to raise our families. So I can tell you, just because we were the 5th town to adopt the CPA back in 2001, we've acquired over 1,400 acres with CPA funds. We've done plenty of historic projects, including this building. We care about our town. I think we have a really unique opportunity here. Yes, very important what you're talking about, safety. I completely understand that's a high priority, as well as bicycle, pedestrian, traffic flow. Excellent priorities. Equally important is what this looks like when you leave. And yes, signs are important, but there's also a way to do it nicely. And landscape is incredibly important. Jamie Goodwin brought up the DOT barn. No reason why there couldn't be evergreen trees there. And like you said, put clear lights on them at Christmas time. The state police barracks is already a little hidden, but it could be hidden better in the front as much as you can for a state police barrack. The roundabout itself, I've been fortunate to travel the world and see, and my husband thinks I'm crazy. I've been taking pictures from before we had cell phones to take photographs with. Then I went to the flip phone, and now I have my iPhone. I have more pictures of roundabouts, which I don't have with me, but I do have some pictures, only because I had a technical malfunction. I'd like to leave these with you and consider that all over the world there are gorgeous roundabouts that have the flow, they have the visibility, they're safe, and I'm asking you to please make that a high priority. And then that 3-foot lip for the trucks, even that's an important little feature. To have it paved concrete when it could be cobblestone or brick or something nice, those are important. We're a tourist community, and we really all care about our town. I think that's all I have. I would just say, you talked a little bit about Route 20 in front of Cracker Barrel. Please don't come with Jersey barriers someday. Please make it better.
Yeah, I can just add that we do have a landscape architect, like I said, and it is going to be a landscape at this point. It's going to be a landscape center island. We have a full set of plans right there that actually has a rendering roughly of what it is going to look like right now from our landscape designer that we can leave back there for people to look at. We are, again, trying our best. We did look at cobblestone. We were working with Mass DOT maintenance section, who is the district who actually maintains this, because there is currently some cobblestone out there right now. The problem they're having is it's hard for them to maintain that cobblestone, so we're looking at a potential stamped concrete pattern that's more cobblestone and not maybe the red feature, but more of that cobblestone color is another thing we're looking at. Because we have a little more play with that, and there's less joints for weeds to go through, where you get that, it looks nice when it's first done, but then after a couple of years, all of a sudden you have weeds growing through it. So we're looking for a way, again, to keep the aesthetic of what's already out there, but make it more maintainable so it doesn't turn into something, not good to look at after a few years.
Which brings me to something I forgot, something not good to look at, and that is what happens to our medians that are here with cobblestones now. We can do better. It looks like some of these meetings are going to be wider. And, I mean, you can travel through Baltimore, even, cities and places you travel to. And, again, the camera comes out, you're taking pictures, and you're saying, look at what they did. And they're not big trees. I know DOT is always, you can't put a tree in the median because somebody might hit it, or the police have to get through. But then you put in the metal things that the police can't drive through anyway because it's all that signage. But there are littler trees that don't grow big and mature that can be beautiful for your landscape. They can cool your hot top pavement, so it makes our world a better place and our air better to breathe. And I urge you to pay attention to all those details. And I really thank you if you do.
Yeah, I know we are trying to at least have some sort of seed mix on a lot of the center medians where it's wide enough, where it has a chance to actually thrive. Sometimes we get too close to those 4-foot wide landscape areas. A lot of times, especially when you have all the salt we use in the wintertime, they tend to die off and just become like gravel, dirt, weeded areas. So in areas where we have a lot of width, maybe over 6 feet, we are looking to make sure those aren't like the cobblestone, but it's more of some sort of grass, some sort of seed mix that would look nicer there.
Shrewsbury Street in Worcester.
Yeah.
Route 9 has a beautiful median strip.
Yeah,
Small
so-
trees, they have a lot of traffic, and they've managed to put some landscaping. Our Route 20 is just not aesthetically pleasing, so I 100% agree with what anything was said.
Hi, Steve Joyce, 159 New Boston Road. Young lady, do you mind doing the 131 Quinnebog slide, please? Very quick.
Oh, it's
Suggestions.
other way. One more. Yep, there you go.
Any consideration to align Quinnebog Road with the apron of the public safety complex for line of sight issues? We're all talking about safety issues. Responding out of the fire station is a difficult task, so consider aligning Quinnebog Road with the apron through there.
Yeah, we can look at that. Again, that's a large section of private property that's right there. There's also a lot of ledge. I don't know if you realize right there. There's a lot of ledge that's actually right across from that driveway. So it could potentially, if we were to look at that, it would be a significant change, especially if there's a lot of ledge. It would require a lot of blasting, which may not be possible in a location like that.
The gray area there, is that permeable or is that drivable or no?
You're talking about
The sidewalk?
Right in the center of that slide.
Yeah, you're talking about right here. So there's an existing little center median there that we're looking to retain, just basically rebuild and keep it there. That's what that is right there. So it wouldn't be like a mountable surface, so you couldn't actually go over that.
Okay, I see problems with exiting from the public safety complex without this change. Thank you.
Kevin Smith again. I have just a follow-up question about my radius one, and someone earlier mentioned too about, emergency vehicles, and you talked about, they have 42 feet, so on and so forth. What about 3 or 4 months a year where we get snow and there's going to be snow packed up on that? I mean, how are you going to, I can imagine that as you go around that road and plow, all that snow is going to build up and cut off that radius.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe Ann can answer this more.
We do plow the aprons. You're talking about the aprons where it's mountable? Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I didn't realize that, but thank you.
Can I just say on the landscape, discussion with the landscape, we will work with the town, kind of just to, there is a lot of green out there, and if it's just grass, it's that's actually a lot of maintenance, so we'll work with the town to come up with.
A wildflower mix or something. Yeah.
I just have one more question as I would, right now, after you're going west, after New Boston Road, there are 3 lanes. There's a left-hand turn lane and 2 straight. This is taking away one of the lanes, and now there's just 2. So the traffic, to avoid the rotary and go on, go around it, that's going to be backed up all the way to New Boston Road because you've eliminated one of the lanes. Is there any way to mitigate that?
You're talking about when you approach the intersection from Route 20, heading westbound. When you approach, normally there would be a left turn lane and 2 through lanes.
Correct.
So one of the mitigations was this bypass lane, was to make sure that vehicles who don't want to enter the roundabout, that want to continue Route 20 westbound, don't have to really yield except for pedestrians.
I think most people are going to do that.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, is to help mitigate.
So if that's going to be backed up.
Well, they're free-flowing traffic, whereas today, sometimes there's a red light. So the point of the multiple lanes at the signalized intersection today is to hold that capacity when there's a red light. But in this design, the only time those vehicles are going to be stopped is when there's a pedestrian or bicyclist crossing. And so there's more.
I drive that every day, multiple times a day, and I can see situations arising that, especially if people aren't from around here, and which we have a lot of tourists, they're going to get all confused by that, and they're going to be in the wrong lane, and then they're going to go down Route 20, and they're in the left lane, and they want to go to McDonald's, and they can't get over. Or they want to go to CVS, they won't be able to get over because the other side is going to have a lot of traffic. I don't know if there's anything you can do about that.
Yeah, we did look at that.
Yeah, so we did look at the weaving as you exited the roundabout to be able to get to those businesses. And then we even further looked at the median of that bypass to pull back just to be sure cars could move over. And that was another reason why we moved that crosswalk further down by Fairgrounds, just to be able to allow those maneuvers.
is okay. I learned to drive in this town a long time ago. I had to adjust to like the jug handles and stuff, and they're not great, but people did. I think that people are better at adjusting to things like this than, especially rotaries are pretty familiar. We go through them. To me, it seems great, and you still retain the 2 straight lanes. You just have the left turn lane like incorporated into the rotary, so you still have 2 lanes that can go through, if I'm understanding, and then one that is.
Yeah, so we're hoping that bypass lane helps mitigate not having that additional lane, because now those cars won't have to even stop. If the light was red, they'd have to stop. Now the only thing they're yielding to is if there's a pedestrian in the
I make that
crosswalk.
turn all the time. It's a pain, and then that area that people were like less concerned about, it's very stressful turning there. So I'm glad. Me and my mom talk all the time about how like we wish someone would put a rotary in there. So.
So I'm just trying to visualize this. The rotary in Oxford, in terms of its size, this is significantly larger, the diameter of where the tractor trailers are going to go around?
Yes.
How much larger, number one? And number two, is there a rotary in size similar within like an hour of here? Because I'd be curious and just like to try to go and see it. I know ours is unique in terms of our roads and safety concerns. I'm just trying to visualize the size of this rotary. What is the diameter? I know you told us in feet, but is it twice the size of Oxford? Is there another rotary I could look at?
Think of one that's in the area that's comparable.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Does the district know of anyone that's kind of out in this area?
I'm trying to think of one too, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think too. Southbridge.
Where's the Southbridge one?
131 and 169.
This is more like the Bohr rotary, probably.
No.
I know what that one is. Yeah, I know. But so I'll say it is. I can tell you it is wider. I know if you look at the northbound side, that's 6 feet right there. That rideable island,
We
which
have
is
the one in Spencer design, but it's being designed.
well, that's the one that came to my mind.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I can
yeah.
tell you that bypass divider right there does give it 6 feet additional wider than the other one. I also believe that these lanes are a little bit wider again because we had more opportunity here to use geometry to slow you down instead of tighten it down, where I believe the Oxford one really was trying to slow you down and didn't have the space to kind of create as much of a in and out. We had a lot of right-of-way in this location. I mean, you can somewhat see the right-of-way lines here. It's the red lines, they're kind of faded here, but they go very far out on either side of the intersection. So we had a lot more room here to bring the lanes in more so we could actually keep the rotary lanes, the interior roundabout lanes, bigger. Like I said, 13 up high for the bypass lane. It's only 13 feet wide because you're not having to make any type of maneuver except for going straight, and there's a little curve to it to slow you down. The lane just below it is 16 feet wide, which is right in the middle of what the standard is. It's actually somewhat on the higher end. Normally they call it between 15 and 18. We're looking at 16. We're even looking at potentially to widen it an extra foot more. Again, just to make sure it's a little more comfortable for trucks, because we were looking at the trucks a lot. There was a couple of comments from Mass DOT reviewers to make sure can we make this a little bit easier for some trucks again. So that might potentially go from a 16 to a 17 when you sit at 75% design.
So the diameter of green space is roughly 50% more than Oxford, or what? Percentage-wise?
I can't tell you the exact percentage.
I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I believe this.
I have a comparison, but it
I believe
doesn't-
this radius, like the design radius used, is 150. The diameter is 150 feet on this one. I didn't design the Oxford one, so I don't know the.
We can get you the answer
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
If you email that email address, because
Yeah.
I should have said too, we can't answer everything. We'll try our best, but if you email, we'll get you the answer.
Yeah.
So, quick on my phone, looking at the Southbridge Rotary near the AO, that's 49 meters. My phone doesn't do English units for some reason, but that's about 150, which would be about the same as
Yeah. So if you go back, Taylor, if you go back to that, so the 150 I'm talking about is from this point here to this point there is 150. So from here to here is 150. So that's what he said. The one's 150.
About. Yeah.
So basically, you're adding an extra. I said this is 6 feet, and then this is 13. So you're looking at roughly another 19 feet wider on this side, and then on this side you have a 2-foot barrier here, and I believe this one is 14 feet wide. So you're looking at roughly 16 feet wider on this side. So again, it's probably roughly 30 feet wider from this point to this point, but it's 150 from here to here. Again, this is a different rotary. It's a mix of a 2 and a 1 lane kind of. So roughly the Charlton Oxford one is roughly the diameter from here to here. So from here to here, it's roughly 30, 40 feet probably wider from top to bottom. Thank you. You're welcome.
Sue Riders, Farquhar Road. I just want to ask, you talked about the timing of this project would be 7 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. Why can't it be 7 at night till 7 in the morning? Because it's so busy, the school buses, the emergency, all kinds of reasons. And why can't this project be done during the nighttime hours?
So that would be, I'm going to turn it over to Mass DOT. It's not something that I personally, as the engineering contractor, determine. It a lot of times can be based on who the actual design, the construction contractor is, and it also depends on actually the resident engineer allowing night work. It can be something that obviously Mass DOT can look into.
I mean, we don't typically do it.
Yeah.
It happens on the interstate, so I thought it could happen in our town, who welcomes a lot of people off the interstate.
Yeah, they tend to try to avoid more residential commercial areas for night work.
A lot of the inn and people who are staying there, that it's not maybe a house, but people are staying.
Or they come through.
Yeah.
Whatever reason, it would be much more convenient for our population and our residents and those who pass through our town, never mind the school children and everyone going to work on the interstates, to have your project take place during nighttime hours. If you could look into that, I'd appreciate it.
We can look into it.
We can look at that. I also want to, for the construction phasing, the way it works is that once they put up the different phasing, which is where you see that barrier to protect the construction workers, that on these type of products, that doesn't go away at night. It's not like on the interstate where you see the barrels. It stays. So even if work is happening at night, during the daytime, that cutoff would still be there. But again, that phasing is done in 4 instead of 2 or something like that. And the reason why we're doing that is, again, to make sure we're keeping at least 2 lanes of traffic in each direction down Route 20 and then keeping the same amount on Route 131. So again, night work might help a little bit with the traffic, but no matter what, the barriers that are put up will be there.
Will be impacting us anyway.
Kind
Thank
of,
you.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. Julian Arsenal, 45 New Boston Road. This is all wonderful. It sounds wonderful. But in the meantime, what are they going to do about the speed limits now of people coming off the turnpike and people also going towards Cracker Barrel? I mean, I drive New Boston Road every day to go back and forth to work, and I take my life in my hands trying to get in my street and out, sometimes even going up to the top of the hill where people are sitting there waiting to turn into Panera Bread. And so traffic stopped and there's more people driving in. What are we going to do to correct those issues in the meantime?
Do you mean you're talking about before the project starts?
Before the project is ended. I mean, you said it's going to be complete in 28.
So you're talking about before the the construction starts?
Yep, as of right now.
I mean, we can look at ways, signage, or, traffic calming. I'm not sure what
I mean, they come flying off the turnpike 60, 70 miles an hour. Same thing going up towards Cracker Barrel. There's 2 medical buildings there now, a bank, tractors, trailers coming in and out of Pilot, numerous accidents all the time.
So there will be a light at
And when?
at Noble. We think that they'll get that done this summer.
Because I was told, don't hold my breath.
Well, we're issuing the permit, so.
Okay, great.
And
Thank
they very much want to do it. That will help.
Yep.
Like I said, it's not the solution, but it will help.
Thank you.
Looks like we're at the end of the line of people that want to speak. I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank our elected officials, our FinCom appointees, our health department, all of my team, our staff, and the public for tremendous participation, and DOT for fielding so many questions. I want to remind the public, you can continue to ask questions. They have the form on that paper to fill out. Please feel free to fill that out if you have any direct questions. You all know my senior center friends, know where you can find me at the senior center. Anybody can email me or pop by my office. We're always willing and available to talk. I want to thank everybody again for being such active participants. That's what we're involved with, is participatory government. So thank you very much. And again, any questions?
Thank you, Rhonda.
Yes, we will put that up on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah.